Thank you for tuning in to Uncommon Women, a podcast that provides a platform for women of all walks of life to share their upbringings, life lessons learned, experiences, and journeys to come. Uncommon Women speaks on topics that can relate to all women. We share, we listen, we laugh, we cry, and we empower each other to be the best uncommon woman that they can be. Ultimately, we are cultivating a global movement of women supporting women. Women supporting entrepreneurship, relationships, self-love, and so much more. We inspire each other to make an impact on this world for the better. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Uncommon Women. Now, finally, grab a seat, get comfortable, and hear from your wonderful hosts, Shanira and Jenny Lee. Thank you, kings and queens, for tuning in to Uncommon Women. I'm Shanira.
And I'm Jenny Lee.
And today we have an amazing guest speaker by the name of Miranda Oh. She's going to come on here and share a little bit of her testimony of helping women despite, the traumatic life circumstances that we have. Just to tell you a little bit about her, she's a Canadian author, mom, podcast host that strives and thrives in finding positivity in our darkest places of life. She has a series called Chin Up Tits Out that has made marks in the industry with her ability to speak about taboo topics in lighthearted, engaging, and entertaining ways. Whatever challenges she has, she's normally able to face them, and she finds a way through holding her head high, thriving, and throwing her shoulders back with confidence on the inside out. So thank you so much, Miranda, for coming out and being a part of Uncommon Women today. We are greatly appreciated to have you. Before we get into your testimonies, can you tell a little bit about yourself and something that you like doing, or just anything that you want to add to your bio?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I am from Canadian. I'm from Canada. I'm from the prairies, and we just had like this massive blizzard the last couple of days. So I've been snowed in to my parents' house of all places to be. It's been a wild couple of days. But definitely I'm super thrilled to be here and share my story. As much as my story sounds ridiculous and wild when we get into it, reality is often stranger than fiction. But when we start to peel back the layers, everybody's got this strange story. And that's the reason why I wrote Chin Up Tits Out. It was because we are all relatable. When you start to strip away the scenario, the feelings that we feel are the same. And the way those feelings tend to manifest in us are the same. Fear manifests the same as happiness. When we're happy and excited, we feel butterflies in our tummy and our heart is like pounding, and we are, your cheeks hurt from smiling so much, like your ears are in the way, and you just like want to shake it out a little bit. So I'm really excited to kind of get into that today with y'all.
Yes, I'm super excited too. And now I'm just curious, like being at your parents' house for 3 days, that means you don't have to cook, right? They're cooking all the food for you. Like,
well,
children sometimes.
Normally I would say yes, but it's like what is like the laziest way that we can like make food. So today's supper was like a cheese ball with some crackers and like processed meat and some pickles, and everybody's like, are you good for supper with this? We're all like silently like nodding. My kid's like, well, where's supper? I'm like, I'm just going to feed you a bunch of meat and cheese and like pray to all higher powers that I don't have to deal with the ramifications of that later today.
Right. You got to see it like this. You got to see it this way. You had some dinner.
Yeah, exactly. I got some eats. I am satisfied. So, I mean, I can't really complain. And like, who doesn't love meat and cheese? Like, well, unless you're vegetarian, but like, it's good, especially on a Thursday, which is kind of like a Friday in this sense. So, it's like a perfect way to end the week.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. And then I'm sure they're helping out with how many children do you have?
I have a 1-year-old daughter, and she's just a
Aw.
riot and absolutely hilarious, and this quirky little individual that does not stop talking. When you're going to learn real quick that is genetics. So my parents and their neighbors have their hands full as well. Well, we're on this podcast today. I'm so blessed for them.
Yeah, and they raised you, so I'm sure they're like, oh, this is nothing. This is a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we remember this from 30
Right.
something years ago. I'm like, yes, exactly. So not much has changed. Now there's just two of us.
That's awesome. So let's get into a little bit of your testimony. Can you tell us, first off, how was your life growing up, and how was everything growing up as a child?
You know what? I had a very idyllic childhood. I have a younger brother who is just under 2 years younger than me, happily married parents. They owned a business, so they worked from home all the time. My dad was my soccer coach for most of the years that I played soccer, and then was also subsequently my brother's soccer coach and hockey coach as well for most of the years that he was playing sports. So we had extremely involved parents. Whenever we didn't want to go out somewhere, we used our parents. Our parents said no, even though our parents were like, yeah, totally, go ahead, do it. We were like, can we just stay at home and hang out with you? So we were a very close family growing up, which was fantastic. Now, when it came to like my friends, I was never really best friends with anybody. I had close friends, but I always kind of flitted between people. And now in my adulthood, I'm still the same. I know hundreds and thousands of people from all corners of the world, but like literally my family is my best friend. And I don't think I would want it any other way. It's really nice to have those roots, especially now that I have a child of my own, and just, keeping that family unit really close and like working to keep it strong and balanced and peaceful. That's like a full-time job in itself. I did 2 years of college after high school. I loved it. I probably would have appreciated it way more if I joined that college program later in my life. I did creative communications. So, I was doing PR work, journalism work, broadcasting, advertising, stuff like that. And I learned so much, but I didn't retain it as an 18, 19, and 20-year-old. I had so much on the go. Now, if I were to go back to that course, I'm sure I probably would have taken on so much more, but education is continuous. Like I'm still learning. I'm still actually in a college course right now. So I'm constantly doing school and certifying myself in different things and just upping that education. Because again, it's like the moment you stop learning is the moment you start to get old, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So never stop learning. I got married when I was really young. I was 20 and a half, which was when my mom actually got married. So I thought it was like, picture perfect.
Right.
And that's kind of like that journey of working towards getting married at 20 was really where the Chin Up Tits Out series started. Because it was just an uphill battle and then a downward facing spiral in like the span of probably 5, 6 years, 7 years, maybe a little bit longer. Let's go a decade, like from start to the time where I actually was like fully healed from all the trauma and drama. So that decade of like 18 to 28 was extremely chaotic, lots of beauty, but also lots of dark. But at the same time, now looking back at 33 next week, I'm 33 next week. It was like, it came full circle, like so many life lessons and so much learned and so much gained, even though there was a lot of loss. And so really, I have like no regrets or no disappointments when I look back. I only see the happiness when I look back, even through the dark times.
Can you elaborate a little bit more in regards to the dark times? Was it in between the marriage, or was it just something that you guys had disagreements? Or can you speak to people that are dating in their earlier 20s and, possibly want to get married to the high school sweetheart or the love of their life at that time, and they really don't, have the guidance that you had, like your parents? parents were?
Yeah, you know, my parents, first things first, my parents were supportive regardless of any reservations they may have had of me getting into that marriage. They were supportive, thinking, and the thought was, we want to support you so you don't run away, because if we tell you no, don't do it, you're going to do it anyways. That's the type of daughter we want to have, is to like go forth with what you believe in. And then if or when it does blow up, then we're right here to catch you when you fall. And I fully believe that now, being a mom. I want to keep my daughter close, but at the same time, she's her own person and I got to let her do what she's going to do. She's only like 13 months old, but still, like, that is a philosophy that I'm going to try to ingrain in her and I moving forward. So my ex-husband is from South Africa, and when we met, he was here in Canada working on a work permit, and it was like this hopeless, beautiful, meet cute romance, a very hot, beautiful romance, a very fast paced. But then he had to go back to South Africa, and we're like, oh, no problem. We'll just get you to like come to Canada, because like Canada's the best place in the world, blah, blah, blah. And that immigration story took a left turn real quick. We hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock with immigration, red flagged for temporary visas. Then, you know, after years and years of trying to get him here, we really had only a choice to get married or me move out to South Africa, which wasn't ever really an option. It wasn't safe or stable to live there. So we always wanted to be in Canada. So we're like, well, let's just bite the bullet and get married. And like, when I say immigration was a struggle, I was in college. He was attempting to work, and we were doing long distance, and it's not like long distance when you're across country and like 2, 3, maybe 5 hours like apart. We were 3,000 miles apart and like 8 hours difference. And, you know, with school being extremely demanding and that time change, it was really hard to maintain that relationship. And then I would take my Christmas break, because that was the only time I had. I went to college from September till June, and I had a 2-week or 3-week period in between December and January. And then from May till September, I was working like all week and every weekend. So I could then afford a $2,000 airplane ticket down to South Africa and live in South Africa. And just the way things were, I ended up funding most of my trip down there. So I would pay for food, I'd pay for electricity, I'd pay for going out, hotels if we decided to, excursions if we decided to. You know, my dollars went a lot farther than the money that he made. He kind of just lived paycheck to paycheck. And sometimes that wasn't even suffice to put electricity on for, you know, the end of the month. Wow. So that was a struggle in itself. And I mean, as we know, immigration now is not any more or less difficult. It is equally, if not more difficult, because of COVID. Right. So just going through that process, like I remember going to a Canadian embassy in Johannesburg, and I requested that I see an immigration officer months prior to me landing in South Africa. I gave them the date that I was going to be there, gave them times. Nobody ever responded to me. So I went there with my passport, and like little old naive me had never traveled outside of like Canada and like Cancun, Mexico. Like never. And I'm like, hey, so I want to go see an immigration officer. And this big, he was big and blacker than night. And he's like, no. And I'm like, yes. And he goes, no. And I'm like, but yes, I'm a Canadian citizen. Like I was adamant. I'm like, that I have the right to be here. And he goes, I have the right to tell you no. And I have the gun and the machete. What side are you going to take? Right. And my husband was just like, can you stop talking?
Because he will lock you up.
Yeah, he will lock you up, or he will whack you into bits. And like, it ain't going to make the news, honey. Like, you are a white girl in Africa. Like, no. And I'm like, no, but see, my salary, my tax dollars pay this man's salary. Like, that's how immigration or embassies work, don't they? And he's like, I love you, but stop. So, you know, like we had challenges to overcome. And anyways, like I said, when I look back, I think of it as all funny because it was all funny. But there were times where I'm like, I didn't see the guy for 11 months. And that was hard. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of angry moments. There was a lot of no talking to each other because there was miscommunication. And, you know, it was very tumultuous, very hot and cold throughout those times. Definitely there was love and there was passion, but it was all over the place. And like I said, I worked every single day for 11 months to just be there for 14 days a year and then give everything I had, everything materially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, to just be there. And then we finally got him to Canada and I was like, ooh, I'm going to get my happy ending. Like, you know, like Disney Cinderella, we're getting our happy ending.
Finally, right.
Right. But I'm like, that's not the reality of how it happened. You know, we moved in, we struggled to get him a job and we struggled to get him all of his like medical cards and, you know, just all the stuff that takes a long time to get settled in a new country. And you don't think about that. You just think, oh, you're going to land and you're going to have your happy ending. That's just not the way it is.
Yeah.
And so 6 months after he landed, we discovered a lump in his neck and we're like, oh, that's weird. So we went to the ER and we're like, what do you think this is? And like a week later, we found out that it was cancer and we're like, okay, so now what? And at that point, he like rolled over and died. You know, the bugs that like petrify and like stop. Yeah. Like that was him. And I'm like rolling up my sleeves going, all right, give me the to-do list. Like I'm like ready to fight this. And he was just ready to roll over and die. And we had battled with his cancer for about 13 months. And when I tell you every single roadblock there was to hit, we hit 2 times over. You know, the chemo was making the cancer more angry. So his tumors, like he had tumors the size of footballs underneath his armpits, and he was down to 90 pounds. So he was walking around with like skinny chicken leg arms and football sized tumors underneath his armpits. He was yellow and green in his skin, lost his hair. He like everything. We even did a stem cell transplant, which was, if this doesn't work, this is it. Like you basically just got to start to say your goodbyes until he passes.
Wow.
And, you know, through all this, when somebody wants to fight, but I'm the caregiver, I'm not the patient.
Yeah.
There was nothing I could do that was right or enough to make him fight. And to fulfill him. And that was a huge lesson that I learned way after the fact, was like, I can't love somebody happy. I can't love somebody well. And in that time, we lost our home, we lost our car, we lost his job, I lost my job. We moved into my parents' place, like thank Jesus for my parents. They helped us out tremendously. While I was searching for jobs, they took him to medical appointments and were fighting with him or for him. And, you know, we had addiction issues with him pop up during this. You know, he was popping pain medication like they were M&Ms. And so at some point I had to start to hide and count medication for him. And then undiagnosed mental illness came, and his mom, we knew, was always a little, you know, off her rocker. That was put mildly. And he knew that. And that was one of the reasons why he wanted to come to Canada. Right. And when he got sick and was taking all these medications, we started to see genetic similarities come up. And so now I'm not only dealing with somebody who doesn't want to live, but I'm now dealing with somebody who has addiction issues, and then also now has kind of this bipolar tendencies and personalities. And, you know, again, like there was nothing I could do. Like I would roll over at night and brush him accidentally, and he would just enrage. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And then there were times where he would stop breathing in the middle of the night. And so I would try to gently wake him up thing. I'm like, oh my God, did he die? Like, is he dead beside me? And lo and behold, I'm 22 when this when this is all happening. 22, 23. Either way, I'm very young. And then he'd wake up and just like scream at me and get up and go into the spare room and lock himself in the spare room and then be in there for like 2 days. Like get out, go to the bathroom, come back in. And you know, he would sneak out and buy cigarettes and buy booze and then hide it and smoke in my parents' house. And my family is not a smoker family. I'm like, but you're dying. Like, please.
He gave up on life.
Oh, for sure. He gave up on life. And then one day I went to yoga because I was like, girl, you got to get your Zen on. Like, how do you deal with this? Right. So I was trying to do everything that I could. And so my mom and I went to a yoga class and came back and he had a backpack and his passport and a flight. And he's like, I'm getting out of here. And I'm like, sweet, where are we going? He's like, no, I'm leaving today in 3 hours. And I was like, ooh, where are you going? He's like, I'm going home. I don't want to be here anymore. And I'm like,
where did he get the money from?
His family bought the ticket for him reluctantly. Oh, wow. And so we got on the phone with his parents and his parents were like, no, he's fine. He just needs to come home and like, you know, have a barbecue with his dad and a couple of beers and like talk about life and like it'll rejuvenate him. And I was like, he just went through a stem cell transplant, meaning he has absolutely no immune system.
He's weak.
Yeah. And I said, he's going to travel for 30 hours by himself. I said, we don't have any medication. He's addicted to his medication. He's going to go through withdrawals, which is terrible because I had seen it 3 or 4 times in the last year. And they were like, no, sorry, like we're not supporting you on this. And so then I started calling his aunties and uncles and his siblings and his like cousins. And I'm like, please like help me. And they're like, we've been told by his family, like we agree with you and we're on your side, but we've been told by his family that we can't get into this. Like, and I was like, okay, fine. So just call me when you get there. Call me when you're safe. And then he didn't. And then he disappeared for like a week. And when I finally tracked him down, like nobody was picking up my calls. They were screening my calls. When his mom picked up the phone, she was super like, what do you want? Why are you calling? I'm like, what do you mean?
What?
Like my husband left me unannounced. And to me, it was out of the blue at that point. Looking back years later, so many red flags that I chose to ignore. But at that time, it was unannounced. And that's how I felt. And when he picked up the phone, was like, what do you want? And he was so snarky with me. And I was like, you have zero regard of how I feel in this situation. Like, I know you're the patient, but I am your caregiver. I am your wife. Like, I have a right to feel something in this as well and have a say. And you just walked out of our lives. And he, again, gave me some sass. And so I just broke at that point. I said, you know what? Don't come back. Like, don't come back. And he's like, fine. When I die, it's on you. And he hung up and he was gone for like, I can't tell you how many months. I don't remember, but he was gone. And at that point, whatever was left of me broke. Like I had hit my proverbial rock bottom at that point. And it took me a really long time. I had got really bad migraines that would make me really
started stressing out.
Yeah. I started to unravel. You know, I went to a psychotherapist, diagnosed me with PTSD. I'm like, but I didn't go to war. He's like, actually, kind of, honey, you did. Like, maybe
mentally,
or you were there. And that was right. Cause like certain triggers would bring me right back to an appointment, and I would remember the appointment and remember exactly what the oncologist said and remember what his face looked like at that point. And then I would just break, and I'd be in the middle of a mall or in the middle of something. And it took me years to rebuild myself up, finalize a separation and a divorce, and with somebody that was not even here or not even willing to like get divorced for whatever reason. And then it was like, all right, girl, you have 2 choices. Pretend this never happened and move on, or like sit in your choices. Did he choose to leave? Yes. But I also chose a lot of choices.
Yeah.
I chose to financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, like I chose to give my all to somebody knowing that I wasn't getting it back. So I sat in my own poo for a long time, wrote 3 books, learned a lot about the mistakes that I made, and then assessed myself. How am I not going to make these mistakes again? And Lord knows, when I dated after that, I continued to make some mistakes because I was just like desperate to get out of the situation, desperate to get rid of those memories, fill my brain up with other memories, despite on the mistakes or bad memories. So there was a lot of learning from the time he left till my late 20s. And, I met my partner a couple years ago, so just about 31-ish. And, immediately I knew that I was in a different place and knew it was almost like, okay, well, like, I know we just met and I know we've been, just dating for a few months, but like, this is what I want in life. Like, do you align with this or not? And, after some really deep, intellectually stimulating, competent communication, we're like, let's do this. Let's move in. Let's have a kid and let's live happily ever after, but not stop having those
and growing.
And growing together, growing as individuals, holding ourselves accountable, knowing that we're not here to change each other. We're just here to better who we are already.
Yeah.
And, I couldn't have asked for anything better. He is the exact opposite of what my ex-husband is, and it's fantastic. But like, my life has come full circle of literally watching the person that I thought I loved the most walk out of my life and be completely blindsided by it, to now being happier than I ever could have imagined. And of course, like, we still are broke. Like, we're not broke, but we ain't rolling in the dough. We're managing, and like, we're living in blizzards, and we have a car that barely fits the car seat, but like, we're living the dream. We don't have the biggest house. We don't have the fanciest cars. We don't have large bank accounts. We don't have all the fancy bells and whistles, but we have that moral connection. Yeah. And that connection is just everything. And we work very hard to maintain it. So, I love talking about this as much as it is difficult to, or it isn't anymore, but it was difficult to even admit that I made mistakes. It's put me in such a better place. And then to say, like, hey, if you're going through immigration, if you're going through cancer or some sort of illness or injury with your partner, if you're a patient or a caregiver, or if you're going through a divorce or a separation, I got you. Like, I've been through it, through the thick and thin, and I'm down to talk about it and down to talk about what worked for me and the mistakes that I made, and hoping that you don't feel the aloneness and the abandonment that I just felt over and over and over and over and over again. But hey, those negative emotions make you have the ability to feel the opposite of those really extreme positive emotions. So I'm all about it. Sit in your poo. You're gonna shine after that. I promise. It's like a mud bath.
I love it. When after you shared your story, I thought about, how you have the rainbow after the storm.
Yeah, totally.
That's the first thing that the first thing popped up was 90 Day Fiance. And I'm just like,
I thought the same.
I was like, this sounds like 90 Day Fiance.
Yes.
And I was like, but he doesn't want a visa. He really loves her. So like, I'm really intrigued by the whole story, but it's just like to be in your 20s, because I know how I was in my early 20s, and just, the love of your life just walk away. What, besides, going, at least first off, I condone you for getting help, because sometimes we just live in it and just be like, ain't nothing wrong with me. Like, I'll get over it. Or you try to fill a void by dating other people,
Oh, totally. Oh, been there, done that too.
Right. So, like, how did you get over those challenges and your emotional battles and, make ends meet, living with going back to your parents' house? Like, how did you get over that barrier? And then, like, you know what? I need to get up. I need to get out of this funk.
It was honestly, having that relationship with my parents was a big catalyst to it. It was like, my parents have done nothing but support and love. And now I move out as like an independent adult and then move back in as a complete dependent in my mid-20s. So it was like, as soon as I found an opportunity to get out, and they did not make me feel like I was a burden, but there was a lot of self-guilt that I was dealing with at that point, and a lot of self-loathing tendencies that I was feeling at that point. So the moment I got an opportunity to get out, I got out. And then I moved into a house with 6 men, like 6 roommates. It was,
oh wow,
I don't even know the word. Interesting, colorful, memories that I want to forget but laugh about
like,
anyways.
I know men, like it's probably like you would probably be doing all the cleaning. We got a woman in the house.
Yeah,
it's just like
I was like, I ain't your girlfriend, I ain't your wife, and I ain't your mama. Like, I am not cleaning up after you. So I literally it would kill me, but I would leave dishes sitting, and like rice would grow mold in the pot, and I was like,
my goodness,
just disgusting. But I'm like, I'm not cleaning up after you. I will use another pot. I will clean it. I will put it away. I even had to hide toilet paper. Like, I found one of the roommates in the middle of the night snafooing toilet paper from the roll and then running back down to his bathroom. I'm like, bro, it's $10 at the store.
Oh my goodness.
Come on. Come on. It was and to boot, like I was living in like this little office closet off like a laundry room.
Renting a room.
Oh yeah, and it was a room by university, so it was just like all these like international students, and it was like constant revolving door of roommates and like who these people are, like who I don't even remember 90% of their names. The odd time we'd host a party and it was just people around, and you'd wake up and there was like people sleeping in the bathtub and people sleeping on the couch, and you're just like, I need to like get out of that. And so, but I wasn't financially in a place to get out of it. And so, you do what you got to do. And, I would go take to Tinder. I got no money in the bank account. Right. My roommates are disgusting. And I'm hungry. So I'm like, I'm purely looking for a date to take me out for dinner. And that is exactly what I would go get. And then I'd never see that person again.
I mean, at the moment, you were just doing what you had to do.
You got to do what you got to do, Exactly. I was traveling for work a lot, so I would be stuck in, hotels and different places across Canada for like a week at a time. I'm like, girl's lonely. Like, let's find a little muse for a week. And so like, I had people in different provinces. I'm like, you're here for a reason.
Right.
And then when I leave, I don't care what you do. I don't need to hear from you. Like, we cool. And, again, a lot of self-learning and a lot of self-discovery. And when I was actually able to move back into the condo that I had once lived in as soon as I moved out of my parents as like the independent individual that I was. And I actually rented out my spare room. I couldn't afford it by myself and I didn't want a roommate. So I rented out my room on Airbnb as a shared space. And when I tell you that was a game changer for me,
a game changer.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like I had to keep my place clean. I wanted a 5-star rating. So my place was impeccable all the time. I made friends. I have friends from literally all corners of the world, like 40 different countries. Amazing. I still talk to a large handful of them. Like now one of my best friends is from Iraq. And I honestly we would have never crossed paths if it wasn't for Airbnb. And he is like the apple of my eye. He warms my soul so much. He's like my brother. Like I couldn't have asked for a better friend. And he moved away to a different province a couple of years ago. And he took his summer vacation here and stayed at our place and slept in a futon next to the crib of my like 4-month-old baby. Like, bless his soul. Like, to take your vacation to come to little old Winnipeg, Manitoba, and the prairies.
But you built that relationship, which is amazing.
Exactly. And
friendships like that, they will just anyone was just doing anything just to be around you. Yep.
Exactly. And just being at that point in my life and like looking at our friendship, and he's there with my partner now, and he saw me at like the beginning of or the end of me living with all these roommates, and he was just like, you know what? I am so happy to see where you are now compared to where I met you 3-4 years ago. He's just like, just seeing the evolution of you, and like, still you are who you are to your core, but you have just come so far. And he's like, now that you're a mom, you've just even like beyond more layers. And I'm like, oh, bro, you're gonna make me cry. But you know, like, to feel that yourself, and
because
then
he
for
sees the awareness of your growth, which is like, sometimes we forget through all that while we're living life. But for someone to acknowledge it, you're like, oh, that just warmed my heart.
Yeah, it just warmed my heart. And you know, it felt great to get that back. And then, you know, when I started to like, okay, you know, like, I'm done with the dating for like the free dinner, or the dating for like the muse, or the dating because, you know, you have a fancy car and I just want to like sit in it once a week. Yes, I did that. He had a really fancy car, but he would take me out for really nice restaurants and like have a couple drinks. And he was like, okay, you can drive home, but like, don't speed. And I'm like, ooh, this feels good. Just rev the engine at the red lights. But when I was done and like ready to like move on from there, I like, power of attraction is like hippie, gypsy, like wonky tonky that feels or sounds. Like, I wrote out a list of characteristics and attributes that were like non-negotiable. And, you know, I did research on like how to do like this power of attraction and like attract the type of person that would really fit you, and like what attributes fit you. And I really thought it was going to be hard, and I struggled to get to like 10 items. And then within like a month, I had like 40 items. And then people are like, girl, you're too picky. I'm like, no, I don't think I am, because it's not materialistic. Like, I don't need you to have a 7-figure bank account. I don't need you to have a fancy car. What I need is you to be financially responsible. And I need you to be driven professionally. I don't care if you pick up garbage or you make burgers. Girl, if you love what you do and you're driven in what you do, then I don't care.
Right.
Like, right. And so it was, now I refined that list. I worked through it. I dated people, and then I ended it. I'm like, hey, you hit 17 of them, but then the next 5 you don't. And then I asked myself, is it because we're not there yet in a relationship, or that's just not who you are as a person? If it was the latter, it was, you know what? It's not you. It's not me. We're just not meant to be.
Right.
So let's amicably move our own ways before I start to get hurt because you're not who I need in a partner. And they're like, I can't argue with that. And I'm like, well, perfect. Handshake it out. You know, maybe a last hurrah, depending on who it was. But, you know, like, and then you move on. And every single partner got better and better and closer and closer. And then I met my partner, and it was like, oh my God, I have this list to show you. And he's like, don't show me. I don't want to see it. And I was really perturbed. I'm like, why? But why? And he goes, because when you start dating somebody, you're selling yourself to them. He's like, I don't want to pretend to be any of these things. I want you to interpret these things and me as you would, because I might interpret them differently. So he's like, you check off your list. And if you have any questions about anything, ask them, and we'll cross that bridge. And I was like, okay, you know what? I respect that. And then the lockdown happened, and we had a choice. Either don't see each other until we come out of lockdown, which was Lord knows when, or we hunker down under one roof. And Airbnb was like non-existent at that point because travel was non-existent. So he moved in with me, and 6 weeks later, I was like, bro, you checked off everything. I think I love you. And he goes, I care for you deeply, but I am not there yet. And I was like, oh. And he goes, no. You can tell me that all you want. But he's like, if I tell you that in response, it's because I feel like I'm forced to. So he's like, don't force me to.
Right.
Yeah, I will get there, but trust that I care for you really deeply, and I want to continue this relationship. And I was like, okay, but I love you. Bye. Like, wake up, and I'm like, morning, love you. And it was just like, I care for you really deeply. And then one day he said it back to me. And when he did, I just mushed. I was like, oh my God, guys, he loves me too. Like, oh, it was honestly the best because I knew at that point it was genuine and it meant what it was meant to mean, not just lip service.
Right.
And for me, it was, you hit all 40. Like, I can't ask for anything else. Like 40.
That's a good list.
That is
right?
Definitely.
Like, and girls, like I share that list like openly. And I'm like, you know what? You use it, you edit it, you remove, you add, you refine to make it work for yourself. But I reviewed that list every single day for like probably 8 months to a year. And then the 6 weeks of living together during the lockdown and like watching the pandemic numbers, like I kind of fell off the wayside for the list. But then when I went back to it, I was like, oh, hot damn. And it was a steal deal after that. So
like you're looking at him, looking at the list.
I know, you're like, whoa, what's happening? Yeah.
Who did that?
Exactly. What happened here? Like bippity boppity boom, bam. I'm like, okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like when I say full circle, like like I said, I'm 33 in a week, and I was 23, 24 when my ex-husband walked down on me, and I thought I hit rock bottom. And like I have probably hit rock bottom 3 or 4 times in between that, but every single time I'm like, what is the lesson that I can learn from this?
And you made a good point with that.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. You made a good point with that. What can we tell others, or what advice can you give someone, you know, that continues to get pushed back every time trying to take a step forward?
You know what? Just keep chin up, tits out. Like hold your head held high, your shoulders back, stand up tall, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Honestly, you don't stop. I've watched what happened when my ex-husband stopped. I watched my friends stop in their own lives and they're stuck a decade later. I've seen middle-aged people starting their lives from scratch and petrified. And I'm like, you are in your prime right now. Don't stop. My first publisher told me that an object is in motion is a lot easier to direct than a stagnant object. Okay. So if a ball is rolling, all you need to do is tap the ball really lightly for it to change direction. But to get that ball rolling is a lot more effort. So just to keep going and never give up. If you believe in something strong enough and wholeheartedly, then you will get there. But the thing is that you have to sometimes sit back and go, why do I believe in this? Why do I want this? Because sometimes the things that we believe in and the things that we want, i.e. my ex-husband, who was not a great fit for me and not the one that I was meant to be with, at some point for a very long time, I believed he was it. But I never sat and asked myself why until I had lost everything. And I'm like, girl, how did you miss that red flag? How did you miss this red flag? How did you miss the other 17,000 red flags? But, you know, it's because I was just like, I believe in it. I never asked myself why. I never weighed the pros and the cons. I never was the devil's advocate. I you know, people were, but I always thought that people, you have to ask, you have to look yourself in the mirror. Like your parents, your best friends can't tell you, hey, I don't think this person's right for you, without you getting super defensive and want to smack somebody. Like if you love somebody, love is blind. But you have to sometimes ask yourself, why do I love this person? And the truth hurts a lot more than it doesn't. So when you ask yourself, there should be no negative feelings. There should be no uncertainty. But to get there, there's a lot of sitting in your own caca in order to move forward and get to a place of certainty.
Okay. So my question for you is, like, in the process of before your ex-husband decided to walk out on you, do you think that he had everything planned out ahead of time?
Yes, I do. I think there was a level of it was percolating in his brain for a while. I'm not gonna lie, like people are like, oh, he wanted a green card. He wanted to come to Canada so he could just go back to South Africa.
Right.
Like, no. But I think at some point he just didn't want to fight anymore. And he knew that I was never going to give up. So he had a choice of living on the streets where we have blizzards here, like walking out and not having anything here in Manitoba, or going back home and having the security of his family, regardless of how he felt of his
Right.
family. And that's what he chose. And, you know, I don't knock the guy for wanting the security of your family, because I heavily rely on the security of my family.
Yeah.
And so I can't knock him for doing that. He saved me from a lifetime of disappointment and heartache, because I would have, it's right, I would have never given up. That's just not who I am, as you can see. But again, I had never asked myself, why do I love this person? Why am I fighting for this person if he's not fighting for himself or fighting for us? So again, I was just doing myself no good by continuing to blindly fight for something that was never going to end well. So that's why asking yourself why, sitting in your own caca, is like so important. Move forward, but you have to ask yourself why you want something so badly. And that's a really hard question to ask ourselves. We can ask everybody else, but asking ourselves the hard question is always the most difficult, but always the most rewarding at the end of the day.
Yes, it is. And truly, I agree with that. And as well as that, even in through the hard times and you're like the caregiver and you're doing everything, at any point, you know, you said that, you know, he felt like his life ended. That at any point that all the giving that you were given to him, when you were just giving him everything, did he even reciprocate anything coming from him at all?
No, it was never good. It was never good enough. It was never right. And I would just blindly continue to fight. And so now, being in the relationship that I am, there is constant gratitude, constant appreciation, constant validation, even though the need isn't there. But we do. It's like, you know, like it comes naturally to us. You know, hey, Darlene, made it to work. Have a great day. Awesome. So I'm not worried that you're in a ditch in a blizzard somewhere, or like, you know what? Hey, babe, thank you for doing the dishwasher today. Well, chores are kind of 50-50 in our house. So you didn't need to thank me to do the dishwasher. Actually, you know what I did? Because I looked at the dishwasher 7 times today and I chose not to do it. But you looked at it once and you did it. So just thank you. All right. Well, that feels pretty darn good to live in that. So I'm like, boy, we staying in this gratitude world. Like, we are not changing. 20 years down the road, we are still thanking each other for doing the dishwasher. You know, like, we're not taking those small things for granted. But we've both, in our own ways, learned the hard way. And so now we have just reaped the rewards in this relationship.
I love it. I love your happy ending is what we were
yeah,
exactly.
Your rainbow after your storm, but you can tell that through your experience of what you went through, even at a younger age, it was able to equip you to know what to look for in a relationship to get to where you're at now, which is amazing, because sometimes we ignore those red flags again, and you know,
every time,
and compromise and things like that. So what advice can you share to everyone that's listening, adding on to make sure you know the why when searching in relationships? What other advice would you like to give out?
You know, if the list thing ain't your thing, try it anyways. I've passed a list to several people and they've all come to me months later, a couple of years later, even weeks later, and said, it worked for me. And like, I know, again, it's like hocus pocus. But it really, sitting down, like, if you ask anybody successful, like how they became successful, it's like writing out your goals, reviewing your goals, reviewing your daily goals, your monthly goals, your short-term goals, your long-term goals, writing out a list of that partner is the exact same thing. You want to have a successful relationship, you got to figure out what works for you and why it works for you. And honestly, again, it's not easy, but it's worth it. So, you know, chin up, tits out attitude, moving forward always, and like write out your goals regardless in what area of your life.
And where can we find your chin up, tits out, shoulder back, all that?
You can find it on Amazon, and you can find it on my website. So mirandaoh.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I have more series coming out, and they're going to be kind of like along those same lines of like super dark topics, but super inspiring, you know, anecdotes around them. And yeah, like it's exciting. So mirandaoh.com, or my Instagram handle is in my name. It's Miranda Oh. And I'm super happy to connect, and my doors are always open. So please, like, check in, and I'm happy to chit chat. Even if you're going through some, I can pretend to therapist you. I'm not educated in that by any means, but like I got 2 ears to listen and a big old mouth to chat your ears off. So I am a good listener and also a good talker, and I'm happy to help people.
But don't downplay yourself, because through experience, you are an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had enough therapy to like go through, you know, med school to get the little, you know, the letters at the end of the day.
Right. Don't downplay yourself too much, because I think a lot of people, we are doing a lot of online dating, and people are dating, you know, within their country, state, and things like that. So I think a lot of the stuff that you did go through will be able to help someone in regard to the process, and, you know, maybe make things a little bit easier in their decision as well. So
yes,
I feel as though you are an expert in things like that, because I would have never known like the whole process of how all that works until you
exactly
today. I did also want to point out you also have a podcast. So can you tell us a little about the podcast and what days you actually do your podcast as well?
Yeah, for sure. I do my podcast on Thursday night, so I'm literally going to be heading out for there as soon as we're done. And our podcast name is Jot Note. So we're available on Writers Corner Network, and on YouTube, and then also on Facebook and Anchor FM. So like Spotify and all the other platforms. Just Jot Notes. We take dives into the author's world, so it's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you. I just love how spunky you are.
Girl, thanks. I'm super happy to be here and share my story with y'all tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you again, Miranda, for coming out and sharing your testimony. And hopefully somebody, you know, got some got some of your good jewels this morning and this evening, not this morning. I'm telling you, this evening, and you know, just hopefully they take some heed to it, because I'm definitely interested in that list myself.
Good. You reach out, girl. I'll send it to you.
Right. Anyways, we have a question we ask all our guest speakers. What makes you uncommon?
Oh. Girl, chin up, tits out, I think makes me uncommon just by the way that I say it. So I want to share it so I'm less uncommon. And we all are unique. If we think we're normal, you wrong. You actually the weird one. We all are unique. And so I just like to be really loud about the dark topics and like try to make fun of them and make light of them. So maybe that's why I'm uncommon. Yeah, I don't know. Plus, I mean, I've written a couple books, and I think that's like 1% of the population. So somebody told me that was cool once. So I hang on to that tightly.
I love it. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your testimony once again. And before I close out, I want to speak on our apparel. Make sure you come out and check out our clothing apparel at www.uncommonwomen.net. Also, May 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be having a guest coming on Instagram Live to talk about lupus awareness. I am still currently looking for someone for a June awareness on blindness and brain awareness. Definitely, if you or anyone that wants to come on that is an advocate or has a testimony on any of the awarenesses that I had listed, you can email me at uncommon3women@gmail.com, and as well as make sure you come out and check us out next week for an incredible testimony again, for another great guest speaker next week at 7 p.m. Eastern on Uncommon, our Facebook, Uncommon Women. And before I close out, make sure everyone, you stay uncommon. Bye.